It's time with JMU Hall of Famer Delvin Joyce.
Joyce breaks a tackle and goes in for a touchdown. Another spectacular run by Delvin Joyce.
Alongside one of the best signal callers in JMU history.
Vad, he's got plenty of room across the 50 to the 40. He should make it all the way to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, James Madison University.
Together, the duo bring their unique perspective to the podcast, breaking down all the things they're seeing about JMU football. This is To the House. Now, here's Delvin Joyce with Vad.
What's going on, JMU Nation? Welcome to another episode of To the House. I am your host, Delvin Joyce, the People's Choice. I am joined by future Hall of Famer and my guy who now has a master's in sports psychology, none other than quarterback Vad. What's going on, Vad?
What's up, my brother? Man, I got, 2 nights of sleep from Friday. Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night now. All right, I guess it's 3 nights of sleep. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling okay. Let's go.
Love it, man. Well, congrats again on the Masters. If anybody follows Vad on social, you saw that he had a big weekend. So that is big news, of course. And of course, the other big news was that the Dukes fell in Louisville. And, you know, Vad, it's one thing going through the game and having the game on a Friday and then having to watch college football all weekend. And I got to tell you, man, I went through the 5 stages of grief, and I am now at acceptance. I think when I think about this game, though, the big takeaway for me, I am freaking so proud of the effort of this football team. Like, when I think about when I watched that game and I watched it back, bro, the effort in this game was better than anything I think I've ever seen from a JMU football team. I mean, what was your initial take watching the game, and then if you watched it back?
Yeah, you know, I had an amazing setup. I was in Arlington, Texas, and I was at Texas Live. I don't know if you've ever been there. That's right where the baseball stadium is, and
I have been there.
You have been there? Man, it was an unbelievable setup. Had the DJ. I mean, the place was rocking. It actually was a baseball game happening at the same time. So Friday night was awesome. Had the JMU TV, the game on the TV. Me and my wife had a booth. We ate some really good food as well. So shout out to Texas Live. You know, it was just an exciting time, right? You had the NFL season starting the same time, right? You had, I think, Kansas City playing on Friday night as well. But it was really cool to see JMU, the brand of JMU, being on one of those big TVs up there and just really doing it big. You do it big in Texas. So I enjoyed it. I'm super proud of this team. I enjoyed seeing them on prime time. Friday Night Lights, as we talked about last week, is just a fun time. It takes you kind of almost back to high school where football was just fun, where you're just playing for the love of the game, right? And hopefully that you can move forward, but you're playing with your brothers. And so I thought that the Louisville environment was fantastic. It was a great product to watch on TV, and super proud of the JMU Dukes.
Yeah, I mean, super proud. And by the way, you had a way better setup than I had. I mean, I was actually in Kernersville, North Carolina. My son had a big statewide cross-country meet.
Nice.
Ironically, it was called Friday Night Lights. And so it's literally the one track meet a year that they run at nighttime. And so it happened to be on the night where JMU was playing. So I had to watch the game on my phone the first time around. But again, I know
service in Kernersville.
I got service in Kernersville, man. I mean, I don't know if it was Starlink or if it was just, you know, the infrastructure has just gotten so much better, but because you've been to Kernersville.
Right.
Yeah, but it was such an all-around gutsy performance by JMU. And I know much has been made of the defense. I saw the same level of effort on the offense. Even though they looked not so good on offense, the effort was there, and that's one of the things I care about. So obviously we had a chance to win this game, right? I mean, big thought here is that we controlled the game for much of the game, and then, you know, of course, no continuity on offense, and that eventually showed up when we needed the offense to show up the most. So I want to start on the offensive side of the ball, Vad. I mean, I guess big picture thoughts on the overall offensive performance of this team this week.
Yeah, first of all, you got to give credit to Louisville's defense, right? They did a phenomenal job. They did well, and they had a good game plan coming into stopping, especially the two-quarterback system, right? I thought that offensively we left a lot out there. I did see some creativity. I enjoyed the first touchdown where we rolled out to the left and threw a throwback to the tight end, back to the right, and I thought that was really well designed.
I got a question about that real quick. I don't want to disrupt your flow on that, but so come back to your thought. But that play, if you remember, we showed it and then we called timeout, but we still showed Vad move. I mean, we showed Alonzo moving the pocket.
Yeah.
Do you think that was intentional? So that they go into the timeout thinking, all right, they're going to try to move the pocket and roll out. And then it was just a passing thought I had.
Bro, that's next level coaching, and like
that would be next level.
I mean, hey, I think we have a pretty good coach, right? But I was actually concerned that we ran the same play when we just showed it. I was
so was I.
Yeah,
so
I was
was I.
like, oh no, but he was still so wide open. So to your point, I never even thought about that, but to your point, that would actually make a lot of sense and be incredible coaching if you show a rollout. Now the defense is like, hey, he's rolling out to the left. Watch the quarterback for the run and the pass over here. The ball is going over here.
Right.
We throw it back. So
that's
man,
5D chess.
That.
That's 5D chess. I mean, I know we didn't give the offense a lot of credit for this game, but I mean, that one we got to give them a little props. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Credit for that, man, and we also got to give you credit because, I mean, for you even thinking of that was next level, bro. So hey, you'll be a phenomenal
I'm a Virgo.
coach.
I'm a Virgo in his Virgo season, man. I notice everything.
Man.
By the way, do like this, Vad. Do like this. No, I'm messing with you. It's a joke.
Nothing. Well, I do tell you what. I got to charge up my computer in case. All right, we flowing. All right, man. I thought the offense. I thought that there was a lot left. It was definitely a disappointing outing, right? And if you are a player, you're disappointed. If you're a coach, you're disappointed. And if you're a fan, you're disappointed. And so I know that this is kind of where this is the lowest you ever want to see your team going forward, right? And
right.
If this is, then great. And it came against a great opponent. And so there's a lot to move forward from. There's a lot of opportunities for growth. And going into the bye week, this bye week has come at a great time, right? Because now the coaching staff and the players really get to sit down and evaluate where they are and where they need to go.
Yeah, I mean, for the second year in a row, we have a bye week after the second game of the season. You saw how we came out after the bye week last year, right? A subpar performance against Gardner Webb, come out and drop 70 on Chapel Hill. I mean, listen, you hit it on the head, bro. We had some opportunities. From the first drive, the first play of the game, I think, was the throwback where Isaiah Alston just misses a wide open, I think it was Logan Kyle, right? The tight end. I mean, he had him wide open. Yeah. And I love the play call. What I didn't love on offense is that the very next series, it felt like we came back out with more trickeration. And it was, I think we came out with a 2-quarterback set. We had Alonzo and Sluka in the game at the same time. And listen, I'm all for it. But I was like, man, and I think I said this in our group chat, bro, just run the offense. Just run the offense. I mean, you've stopped Louisville twice now, 3 and outs, essentially. They've gone nowhere. They're starting to question themselves. And I think what happens when you tell your team, hey, we're going to do some trickeration, you're subconsciously maybe telling your team, maybe I don't believe you're good enough to go out and beat this team man up. So we're going to do some things and try to mix it up a little bit. I don't think that was Bob Chesney's intent. But looking at it from my vantage point on my iPhone in Kernersville, North Carolina, I felt like we were pulling out all stops, and it was like within the first 5 minutes of the game, right? The reality is, though, I mean, AB3 did not play well in this game. I would say this performance for him, sort of reminded me of the UL Monroe game last year, right? Made some plays early, got off to a pretty good start, and then just never found a rhythm, and then really had a turnover that, I'm not going to say cost us the game because there's no one play that decides a game. But last year at UL Monroe, there was a turnover that pretty much decided that game. And in this game, there was a big sack in the end zone. where, you compound the error by just dropping the ball. And so not a great performance by him, but that if there's anything we know about AB3, the guy is a rhythm quarterback. The guy needs to get into a rhythm. When he's in a rhythm, nobody's better. Chapel Hill, Ball State. When he's out of rhythm, he kind of looks, very, very subpar at the signal caller position. So, Vad, for you, like, how important is rhythm in an offense for a quarterback? And do you believe, right, drum roll, because you knew we were going to talk about this, do you believe that two quarterback system right now, the way it's currently playing out, is disrupting his ability to get a rhythm in the game?
Yeah. I mean, so when you think about the great quarterbacks and you think about really good quarterbacks, most of them need some type of rhythm, right? You think about any quarterback, you need to get in a rhythm in order to do something great. You need to have a good rhythm in order to be great. And when you don't have a rhythm at all, or when your rhythm is concise to one or two plays per drive, per 4 plays per series, right? It causes you now to want to make the big play, want to make the throw. It causes you to stress, and it adds pressure. Together, stressors, right? Where you are now stressed, but you also have pressure to want. I put it like this: when I played in these little small, professional football leagues like the US, I'm not going to call them little small like that, but it's not the NFL, right? But XFL, USFL, and even the spring league, I just remember as a quarterback, like, wide receivers coming up to me saying, "Hey, Vad, throw me the ball. Like, I need to have 100 yards this game because my agent said that such and such is watching, or the scouts are looking and my agent's calling, throw me the ball." And when I think about that, it added a lot of pressure, because when I finally did throw them the ball, they'll end up dropping it, or they'll end up trying to make a big play and end up fumbling, because they are adding pressure to want to make the big play when the ball comes their way. And I bring that back to Alonzo. It's kind of hard. It almost kind of reminds me of 3-down football, like the CFL, where you punt on 3rd down. For all my CFL fans, you punt on 3rd down, but you got 1st and 2nd down to make a play. That's why they throw the ball so much, because they got 2 plays to make 10 yards. Well, we have kind of made Alonzo kind of like a CFL quarterback now, where he's coming in to throw the ball, and there's a lot of pressure. It's hard enough to play 3-down football. It's hard enough to play 4-down quarterback. Now you're playing 1-down, 2-down quarterback. So
wow.
I know
that's a good take.
Go ahead, Del.
I said that's a good take. I hadn't considered that. I mean, that is a really, really good point.
Well, hey, maybe it'll prepare him for the next level, if he get an opportunity to play in the CFL. But right now, man, as a American quarterback who has desires to play in the NFL, you need that 3-down rhythm where you have 3 downs to make 10 yards. Now, when you know that you have 1 down to make 10 yards, or maybe even 2 downs, that creates a level of pressure for you. And especially, there was a few times where he got in on 3rd down.
It was like, go bail us out. Right. Yeah, go bail us out in this 3rd and long situation. Get us out of trouble.
I'll be honest, as a quarterback who, this quote unquote supposed to be my team, I don't feel good about that. I don't feel good in a bailout situation versus like just doing my thing and letting me flow. And so I had I think the commentators, that called the game, watching it, it was hard to listen to, but they were preaching a reality where it was like, man. And the question I have, Delvin, is what is our offensive identity? That's the question.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, bro, I don't think we have one. And I think the calculus of this 2 quarterback system is that we would use it to keep opposing defenses off balance. And the only team that was off balance on Friday night was JMU. I mean, we were the ones who had we had no semblance of an offense. Like I don't know what we're supposed to do on offense. Like I didn't see any intermediate routes. I didn't see any short, quick passing routes. Like I'm watching college football all Saturday and I see these teams just line up and throw a quick pass to the tight end for 5 yards. We don't have that in our playbook. And maybe again, Alonzo had a lot of balls batted down at the line of scrimmage. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if that's a rhythm thing. I don't know if being in the game and being able to sort of find those passing lanes throughout the game kind of helps you to prevent some of those batted balls. But we can't complete like just a 5-yard hitch, down the field, like the easy stuff. Everything on offense on Friday looked hard to me. There were also, of course, times where Alonzo, the blitz is coming, not on his blind side, but like right in his face. And he's just standing there looking at it. And there's no, he doesn't even react. It's like deer in headlights. Yeah, and so, and I don't, again, is that a rhythm thing? Is it, if I'm in the game and I get used to the flow of the game and I get used to this look, maybe I recognize that, or maybe I trust my athleticism to get out of that. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I when I started my career off at Georgia Tech, I split time as a redshirt freshman with the starting quarterback who had an amazing career. But I will say that it benefits mostly the guy that's coming in second in terms of a confidence, in terms of a rhythm, in terms of an excitement, a jubilant, like you're feeling good about now, almost kind of like coming in to save the day, like kind of like you're now deemed as like, hey, come make our offense better, right? And that's a compliment to Matthew Sluka and what he can do and the type of caliber player he is. However, when your starting guy has not done anything wrong per se to be put in that position, then it causes some conflict. One of the things that as a quarterback, even when I was a player, I always watched film beyond just the X's and O's, but I looked at the sideline. I looked at who was celebrating when we made a play and who was not. I looked at the defensive energy once we, got a 3 and out, and now they just got off the field, and now they're slow to get up off of the bench because now they know they got to go back out. I looked at those things, and still to this day, I love looking at those indicators, right? When I see the quarterback system, I don't see them running off, giving each other daps, like, hey, it's your turn, go do it. I don't see them coming to the sideline, and I'm not coming at them individually, but I'm mostly highlighting Coach Chesney's comments where neither quarterback likes it. They don't like being in this position. And I think that that's the part when you have two starting caliber quarterbacks. But let's be frank, we're in a day and age where the transfer portal is alive and active. And you are getting now caliber players that can start somewhere else, but now they're on the same team. So it's almost like now you're getting a mini glimpse of what it's like to be in the NFL. There are some backups that can play really, really well, and maybe if they were on another team, they would do well, right?
Yeah.
We're in that day and age in college football now, and so it's important to know that, yes, you still could be a starting quarterback. However, this is the identity of this team, and we need to ensure that we have an identity first before we start to experiment. Because the more we go along, this is still an experimental phase, right?
Yeah.
It's still an experiment. So, yeah, go ahead, bro.
I'm glad you said that, man. It's not, we're calling it a 2-quarterback system. It's not a 2-quarterback system.
No,
this is a 2-quarterback experiment. You are exactly right. I said last week on the pod that I didn't love the 2-quarterback experiment in the Weber State game. And I got to tell you, man, in this game, I absolutely hated it. Like, and you mentioned this, like when you have the announcers in the game, especially a Heisman quarterback winning announcer like Andre Ware, who won the Heisman, who played quarterback at the highest level, who says, he lectured them the entire game on why this was a bad idea. There is a reason that if you think about, there's 32 teams in the NFL, right? All 32 teams have at least 3 pro quarterbacks.
Correct.
That means they have 3 professional quarterbacks who can run, who can pass, who can do all the things. Not one of them runs a 2-quarterback system. Right. And there is a reason. And so you talked about Sluka coming into the game and being and having the advantage. Well, I think the other advantage that he has is that what he does, his skill set, doesn't necessarily require a rhythm. Like, I can go in the game and catch a snap and bulldoze my way for 4 yards. I don't need to be in a rhythm for that. And listen, I again, I'm getting on my soapbox right now, but I honestly, Vad, believe that if we had started and just played either of these quarterbacks for the entire game, we win that football game.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Sluka or if it's Barnett, but we got to make a decision on one of these guys, hopefully at some point, and just establish an offensive identity for this team. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you bring up an amazing point, because when I ask you the question, what is our identity offensively, you know, the answer, there has to be an answer, right?
Yeah.
It can't be we don't have an identity, because at the end of the day, we got a game that's scheduled at Friday at 6 o'clock, you know, Saturday at 12, Saturday at 3, right? We have a game scheduled, so there has to be an answer. And right now, as I evaluate our offense, especially from Friday night, our offensive identity is Matthew Sluka. And the reason why I say that is because I think he had 21 carries, and he had like 70-something yards, maybe 80 yards. But we have a dynamic running back group that we've been talking about all offseason. I don't think all 3 or 4 of those guys that got in the game, they didn't even add up to a total of 21, 22 carries that Matthew.
No, you're exactly right. Sluka had more carries than our entire running back roster. Right.
Again,
so, yeah, carry on.
Again, I think that it highlights the value in what a Matthew Sluka can do. It highlights the value on his athleticism and what he can do, right? But from the quarterback position, I don't think I don't think we need a quarterback at this point right now. I think it's a great throw off the defense. I think it's a great, counter offer to Alonzo, just coming off his ACL, to now putting him in to do different things. But I don't think our identity should be, this package per se, or this experiment to be the main bread and butter of our offense, because we have an explosive running back group that can get the job done. Going into this game, my ideas of being a very talented Louisville football team was to run the ball. Absolutely. Yeah. I think we did that. However, I wouldn't have thought it would have been to run the ball with the quarterback 20-something times and your running backs don't really get an opportunity to get into rhythm. I mean, take their star running back, their ACC player of rookie of the year, right? Yeah. It took him a while to get his explosive running play. It took him our defense was doing great, and it took him a while to get him rhythm before he could even show what he can do. Imagine one of our running backs having or maybe 2 of them splitting reps where they're now getting 15 to 20 carries. Imagine what that would do for our pass game. And not only that, our offensive line didn't play extremely well. Why? Because when you concise the defense down, you know that when this player comes in, there's a package that you're going to run QB power, or you're going to throw it deep. And right now, I think we're like 1 for 4 deep balled with 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, right? In 2 games.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, I don't want to, down the system or our coaches, but you have to leave this game with the thought of, as a coach especially, you don't want to feel like that we were the better team, because when you say we were the better team, that means we had better players. That means we had better athletes. That means we were the better team. That means we were better in condition. We were better conditioned. We were better in all phases. So when you make a statement like that, what does that really tell you? If you were the better team, then that means that at some point, that means coaching maybe had an influence in the outcome.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. You got to be careful what you say, right? If you say we're the better team and we didn't win, then either the team didn't execute or, obviously we made some mistakes at coaching. I would say that the two quarterback experiment is not fair to either one of these kids, and I would also say that I love Matthew Sluka. I love how competitive this guy is. I love how hard he runs, but I also don't think that this whole thing has been fair to him because I don't think I know people think of him as a one-dimensional running quarterback. But I don't think he is one-dimensional. I think he can throw the ball. It's just that, we put him in the game and his job is to go run the ball. I do still like the idea of a Matthew Sluka package, right? But what we're seeing is not a package. We're seeing inter-drive shuffling of quarterbacks. But the package should be, in my opinion, and again, I'm a financial planner. Don't quote me on this, right? But for me, the package would be, it's third and got to have it. Let's put Sluka in. It's fourth and goal from the 1. Let's put Sluka in. I would love to see Sluka get 7 carries a game or 7 plays a game, but for him to carry the ball, you said it, 21 times in that game, and our all preseason Sunbelt running back, George Pettaway, had what, 6 carries? 7 carries maybe? Yep. No, he had 5 carries, I think.
5, yeah.
Jordan Fuller, who didn't even play last week, came in and had 7 carries. He comes in as the feature back, essentially, in this game. And by the way, I love the way he ran the ball. He was super physical and downhill. I mean, I think maybe that was Chesney's calculus. Let's let Fuller run the ball because this is a big physical Louisville defense. Let's let Fuller come in and be physical. I get that. But you said it. Louisville stuck with their run. They stuck with their home run hitter, and that guy went out and hit a home run for them at the point where it mattered the most. And I think we got home run hitters like Wayne Knight and George Pettaway that if we just stick with those guys and let them get touches, they're going to make plays. Yeah. Last thing I'll say before I let you jump back in, because I do want to transition and talk a little bit about some other performances on the offense and maybe even a little bit about the defense. But Sluka also had more carries than our receivers had receptions in this game. We had 18 receptions. So you said it. The offensive identity on this team right now is Matthew Sluka, period. He had more carries than anybody in the backfield, and he touched the ball more than any of our receivers during the game.
Yeah, and you got to ask yourself, is that fair for both quarterbacks? Is that fair for the team at this point? Has Alonzo Barnett, is he healthy enough to go fully? We answer that. If you answer that yes, then let's go, right? Has Alonzo Barnett lost the starting job to Matthew Sluka? Answer that, and then make a decision, and let's roll, right? Because at this point, I think you start to, first of all, there's a lot of noise on the outside, and I hate to add to the noise, right? But because we have the podcast to the house, I mean, we obviously go into that field. But as a former quarterback, and especially a former JMU quarterback, I left that game. I don't think I've ever been so emotionally, other than playing, right? Outside of playing, I don't think I ever been emotionally like frustrated and like
you were fired up. You were fired up.
I had to come to you to like get my thoughts off and just let it cool down. I don't know if it's because, obviously I speak to the team. I have that relationship there. I have relationships with some of the players. I actually was able to take some of the players out during the off season to go get pizza and hang out. And so, I want to be careful with how I come off. But, I will say that it wasn't anger or frustration towards the team because like we started off the show, it was great to see them on primetime, and they played hard.
They played hard, man.
You know that you were the better team.
Yeah.
It kind of like eats at you a bit where it's like, but if we were the better team, why didn't we win? And so those are the questions that now going into bye week that they have to grapple with. And Isaac Brown was his star running back for Louisville. Shout out to them, and shout out to them coming out with the win in the game because technically they're supposed to win that game. But we, as a JMU nation, know that we were the better team and we're supposed to win that game. And you have to ask yourself, are we playing to be the best team in the Sun Belt, or are we playing to be the best team that we could possibly be beyond within the Sun Belt and beyond? And I think Friday night was more of a Sun Belt performance, where I do think that we can compete and win games with the 2 quarterback system in the Sun Belt. I think it'll get us in trouble too? Yes. I think we can lose games by it too? Yes. But I do think from a Sun Belt standpoint, we can, have great success. But what are we really playing for here? Right? Are we playing for Sun Belt? And these are the thoughts that I had from the very first episode, where it was like, hey, expectations are very high. People are talking about college football playoffs, right? On Friday night was not a college football playoff mindset in terms of scheme on the offensive side.
No.
It was on the defensive side, but on the offensive side, in terms of the play call, in terms of the scheme, I don't think that was a college football type of performance. And so we have to ask ourselves, are we looking to be Sun Belt qualified or college football qualified?
Yeah, Andre Ware made the same point on the broadcast. He basically said, this probably works against the Weber State, but you're playing against ACC Power 4 team. Pick a quarterback and go with him, right? I think he's basically saying it looked like a JV program running out on the field with 2 quarterbacks.
He did.
I love Bob Chesney, bro. I think that guy's stock is so high. Like the ceiling on him as a head coach, whether he stays at JMU long term or goes to a Power 4 team or wherever he ends up, he's got a really high ceiling. I think his stock dropped a little bit, and not his fault necessarily. It was the way that game played out on national television. Yeah. There were only 2 college football games on that night, and literally the announcers are barbecuing you for playing 2 quarterbacks on national TV. Your stock took a hit. And I think Bob Chesney bounces back from this. Yeah. But that was a tough pill to swallow.
It was.
I do think though that, it was nice to see Nick DeGennaro get involved. The guy had a great one-hand catch on the sideline. And we have so many weapons. I think that's the hard part, is that we got all these guys that we've been talking about all offseason, and then we're running this experiment that makes our team so one-dimensional.
Yes. It takes away from your playmakers, and it takes away, not saying that our quarterbacks aren't playmakers, but as a quarterback, the mindset is to get the ball into your playmakers' hands. That is what we do as a quarterback. We get the ball in the playmakers' hands. We don't try to keep the ball for ourselves, right? We're trying to dish out. We're a point guard on the field. And so, one of the things I was like really looking forward to was Michael Scott, right? He had a really great performance last week as a true freshman. He was kind of like the X factor going into this game, because once he get the ball in his hands, that dude can roll. I don't think he had a catch. I don't even know if he started, but I was surprised by that, right? That was a surprise for me. The other, obviously we talked about the running backs. I was surprised to not see George Pettaway have another, amazing game. I was surprised to not see our, Ayo Adese, right, get the ball. Like, I was surprised that our playmakers weren't more involved in the game.
Well, you make a great point, because one of the things that I heard Jack Fitzpatrick say on the JMU Sports News podcast all summer, he said, does the addition of Matthew Sluka stunt the growth and development of offensive coordinator Dean Kennedy as a play caller, right? Because Matthew Sluka can be a crutch for you as a play caller, because as a play caller, I can just call Matthew Sluka left, Matthew Sluka right, Matthew Sluka up the middle. And to your point, we didn't have a game plan that got the ball to our playmakers. It was a very Matthew Sluka dominated, using him as a crutch game plan going into that game. And I think, again, we gotta fix that. Now, obviously, on the other side of the ball, though, we had a phenomenal performance by Colin Hitchler's defense. And I got to tell you, man, after that first drive, Louisville goes 3 and out. Yeah. I said, I literally look at my wife standing out at this cross-country meet. I said, you know what? We really got a shot to win this game. Yeah. Because Louisville didn't move the ball one iota. And I think we ended up getting a sack on that opening drive by Gannon Weathersby coming up the A-gap and getting Miller Moss on the ground. So I guess what were your takeaways about this defensive performance, and what do you think that says about this team overall?
I keep bringing up the Shepherd staff, but I'm gonna add to that. That there's a good word that says my sheep knows my voice. And when I also seen a YouTube video recently where, if you try to mock the shepherd's voice and sound just like him, the sheep won't listen at all because they know the exact voice that's leading them. And I think a guy like Trent Hendrickson, right?
Hendrick.
I think a guy like Trent Hendricks, he is a very, when you're watching the game, just watch Trent, number 5, right? That dude is having fun. He's enjoying himself. He's talking. He is moving around. And Jacob Thomas, there is not more of an NFL-ready player than Jacob Thomas. This dude just knows where the ball is. He almost had a pick. I think he jumped so early because he knew exactly what they were about to run, right? And he jumped like way before the quarterback threw the ball and was trying to catch it on his way down, which was tough. But it just shows that the defense coordinator, Coach Colin Hicks, he is putting them in the right position to make plays. And I think that highlights coaching, but it also highlights the dynamic individuals that we have playing on the defensive side. You think about Big Bush, who had a day. He had a day where, he was clogging up that middle. And I think he might even had a sack. I know he had a couple tackles for loss in the backfield. We had 7 guys that had tackles for loss in the backfield. How about those sacks, right? We were coming into this game kind of nervous, like, man, are we going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback?
Yeah.
And we were able to deliver sacks on the first drive. And the last thing I'll say is, Coach Hicks, he called a lot of he mixed the game plan up, right? At one point, he had 6 guys on the line of scrimmage, 2 guys in the A gap, and then all of them just drop, and you get a 4-man rush. And then a couple of times, right, he'll bring one and bring the other. I think their quarterback was confused. And I wasn't big on their quarterback going into this game, so I thought that the game plan on defense was phenomenal, and it couldn't have gotten any better. And in order for a team, defenses win championships, right? But offenses complements defenses by scoring points. And so, yes, defenses at JMU, if you look throughout history, our best teams have the best defense. But our offense is also able to complement the defense by scoring points.
Yeah, I mean, this defensive game plan, again, I said it last week. I thought we kept it really generic at Weber State. I don't think, Colin Hitchler's signature is showing different looks pre-snap. We didn't show that at Weber State. To your point, Miller Moss was absolutely confused with all the line shifts and changes that we had on the defensive side of the ball. So much so, listen, Louisville, again, ACC team that is expected to compete in the ACC this year for that championship, second maybe to Clemson. They had 264 total yards of offense. And they only made 2 plays the entire game because 142 of those yards came on 2 plays. The 64-yard pass to Chris Bell and the 78-yard run by Isaac Brown, who, again, is a home run hitter. I was afraid of that the entire game, that he's one tackle away from breaking one. But if you take those out, right, I mean, they got 130 yards for the entire game, which is out of control good, right? And so I just love this defensive performance. They controlled the line of scrimmage against a big ACC offensive line. And you called out some of the key individual performances in this game. I thought our corners played really well. I thought Justin Eaglin played really well. I thought Elijah Colt played really well. I mean, the guy had 7 face mask penalties, but he balled in that game because he was so aggressive and he played with attitude and swag, right? We haven't had a cornerback play with that level of swag and attitude since maybe, what's the kid that went to Washington?
Jimmy Moreland.
Jimmy Moreland. Yeah, Jimmy Moreland. Yeah. Right? We haven't had a guy play I love the way Elijah Colt plays, bro. I love that guy. Yeah. And everybody says he should have had that pick 6. That would have been a tough pick. The receiver actually did a pretty good job defending that pass.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. One other name to throw in there was DJ Barksdale. DJ
Yes.
had an amazing game as well. I think he had a PI penalty early on, but even with that penalty, that was a big third down. I wish we could have, were able to get off the field. But I will say his aggressiveness and his swagger as well. I mean, I think he had a few balls come his way, and he was able to hold it down. And so our secondary is second to none. But also our linebackers, and now, our defensive line, our edge game, they were able to get some action. Our guy who transferred from Maine,
Xavier Holmes,
Holmes, right? He was able to get a fumble recovery, get his name called, right? And those little things add up to now this defense has so much confidence going into this bye week. We need to have confidence going into this bye week. It's interesting because team chemistry means a lot to an entire football team. And don't think that the defense don't know what's going on offense and see what's going on, and don't think the offense, knows what's going on. They feel the pressure to have to match up and perform well like the defense as well. And so I think going into this week, I'm so glad that we don't have a game this week, because now it's about defense, our defensive players building our offensive players up, right? But it's also about our offense having tough conversations. I'm sure there's a lot of tough conversations that's happening this week from a coaching staff and from quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, offensive line, all across the board. There's some tough conversations that's going to happen this week, which is necessary and is good. And, as you see my family in the background, man, it's always good to bring a family back to the table together and have a conversation. Hey, what's going on with you? How can we be better? What can we do next? Where did we fail you? Right?
That's right.
Conversations coming back to the table, and there's no better way to do it than this week on a bye week.
Yeah, I think that brotherhood is going to get put to the test. I mean, it's easy to say we have a brotherhood and we're brothers when things are going well, when we're in training camp. The true test of that brotherhood, right, that I talked about on the first episode of To the House of this season, will come after adversity and a loss. And, I think to your point, man, I've been on those teams where, the offense is struggling and the defense is balling, and the defense starts looking over at some point and saying, what are y'all doing, man? We got to win some games and y'all holding us back, right? And by the same token, I've been on those teams where as an offense, we've been performing well and the defense is letting us down, and we look over and like, hey man, what's going on defense, right? And so I'm glad you brought that up. By the way, you mentioned Jacob Thomas. I mean, I do think he's an NFL safety. As long as he's got the speed, I think he's an NFL safety. I was so happy on the broadcast. I can't remember which announcer said it, but one of them said he's one of the best safeties in the Sun Belt. And the other guy corrected him and said, no, he's one of the best safeties in the country, right? So give that guy his flowers, man. Jacob Thomas is such a leader. I mean, if you look at our defensive stats, Gannon Weathersby had 7 tackles, 3 solo, 1 sack, 1 TFL. Dude is a monster, bro. If you see that dude in person, he is put together. Like, I'm afraid of him. Jacob Thomas, 6 tackles, 5 solo tackles for Jacob Thomas. 1 sack, 1 TFL. Trent Hendricks, 6 tackles, 2 solo, 1 TFL. Again, the list goes on, man. We had a lot of players that had a really, really good performance. And I'm just going to tell you, man, I think that this defense sets us up to really be the front runner in the Sun Belt. If we could figure it out on offense, I don't think there's a team that comes within 2 scores of us for the rest of the season. Right?
Yeah. As long as they stay healthy, stay focused, we really have, and we have depth as well. And I think that's important to highlight. We have depth. It's not just the starters. It's those guys that are coming in, to give the starters a breather, or maybe even taking over a drive, playing an entire drive. The key with us, this wasn't a game where it's like, we got tired and we just lost the game. No, this was a game where we were in it and we were the better team. That's the thing that I keep coming out of this thing is that statement, we are the better team. That just eats at you a little bit, and, it's going to eat at them, but it's probably a good thing. All things work together for the good, right? It's probably going to work together for our good. And this adversity, as you talked about, Delvin, I'm so glad that this adversity is coming sooner rather than later, right?
Yeah. I think Chesney has a saying, the greatest predictor of success is well-managed failure, or something like that, he says. And I think that's a bar. And so we'll see how they manage this failure in the bye week. And so I think, before we go to talk about the bye week for a second, what do you think about what did you think about special teams and special teams performances? By the way, our producer just told me my mic is a little hot and a little loud, and it's because I think I'm getting fired up over here, man. I'm probably talking loud. But what did you think about special teams in this game? Anything notable?
Yeah, we had the blocked field goal. We had, the 9-yard punt? Was that not?
Yeah, I think we had a 9-yard punt.
Yeah. That was wild. That was like, I'm not even going. You can't really get on the kid for the ball going backwards, but I've never seen anything like that.
I've never seen that either.
Like Sports Center a couple times, top 10. I think. Come on, man. We might have made that on the 9-yard punt.
Was that on not top 10 this week? I didn't see that.
Yeah, I don't know. I could be making that up, but I know the one-handed catch made top 10. So that was pretty nice.
Oh, that's
but
dope.
Anyway,
I didn't see that.
Yeah, special teams, I think we have some work to do. If you remember last week going into this game, that was one of my keys. That was one of my things that I was a little worried about in terms of special teams play. We had some holding penalties. We had some big plays from the first game they got brought back because of penalties. And so I think that is important that we clean it up. And going into this game, we had the punt, we had the field goal. I don't think our special teams are in a bad position, but I do think that we can benefit from this bye week and learning our assignments, ensuring that everybody know exactly their responsibility and role, and working on that field goal. I think right now it's kind of like a low trajectory kick, and if we can fix that, I think would be very, very important going into the next game.
Yeah, I think I think our punter is going to be fine, man. I think he's a talent. I think he's a talented kid. I think he's figuring out, our system and how to. And I also think they were trying to kick the ball away from Colin Lacey.
Yes.
And so that kid is a weapon back there. I thought our coverage units did really well defending him on kickoffs and also on punt returns. But I think there was a little bit of him trying to angle the ball to kick it away from him. I will say, man, these guys, our punter and our kicker, Pat and Mo, have a radio show with Dave Riggert. And I love Dave Riggert. I love all the interviews. I had a chance to meet Dave Riggert in person a couple of weeks ago. Super cool guy, by the way. Very athletic. I didn't know he was an athlete, but bro is an athlete. But they've got this show, Pat and Mo, live from Lido Pizza. Bro, the last two people I want on a radio show every week are my kicker and my punter. Like I don't want these guys on a radio show, to be honest, man. And I'm just telling you, man, Morgan Suarez misses a couple of field goals and that starts playing in his head. And now he's got to go on a radio show and be this. It was cool last year with Jacob Dobbs, because Jacob Dobbs is a linebacker. Like, he's not going to be in his head. I don't want my kicker and my punter on a radio show.
Yeah, well, shout out to Dave. Dave does a phenomenal job. I listen to Dave a lot, especially in the preseason in terms of getting prepared for this show. One interesting thing I will say about our punting game, I thought it was hilarious when Louisville was covering our punts, and they had their eyes keyed on our punter. When he started running to the left, these guys were staying home. So that fake punt that he did the first game and didn't make it, it actually helped our punt game in terms of Louisville has to be honest and keep a man there to respect our punter for faking it. So think about that from a schematic standpoint. That now makes one less player to be able to block on punt return. So that gives us an advantage.
Yeah, I think Pat, I think he's going to be awesome for us this season. I think he's going to come up big. I am not down on that kid at all. I would like to not see them on a radio show every week, though. So what do you think this loss means for us? because I feel like, expectations were so high for JMU coming in to this season. We've beaten an ACC opponent in the last 2 seasons, which has sort of catapulted us, at least, if not in the national spotlight, into the sort of a national conversation for the G5 level. What do you think this loss means for JMU at this point?
One of the things I think is kudos to JMU and JMU athletics, because we've reached a level now where there's an expectation that we will beat these teams. And so I think this loss kind of wow, I can't say that word. I think this loss shows that
signifies.
Yeah, signifies. There we go. All right. Got to have my running back to back up the quarterback. Come on now. But it shows that we are at a level where we're playing competitive football to win these games. Not just, stick in these games, stick in these games, and then fourth quarter comes rolling around, the other team scores 3 touchdowns, and it's a blowout at this point. So kudos to JMU athletics, JMU's history, and also, putting up 70 points last year against an ACC opponent. I think everybody came into this game thinking like, y'all better be careful because JMU is probably going to win this game, right? So it highlights our athletic program, but in terms of a loss, this does feel like a loss because we lost the game. But there's some losses where there's learning lessons. I'm kind of trying to – of course, we learned a lot in this game, and there's a lot to correct. And, you like to think that it's not a loss, but it's not an L in terms of loss, but it's an L in terms of learning lesson. However, I still feel like this was a loss, but there was a lot to learn from. And whether that's from packages, whether that's from schematics, whether that's from special teams, defense building off of this great performance, right? Offense trying to figure it out, trying to understand our identity. I think that there's a lot of lessons that will come from this loss. And so I don't think that something, especially because we have the bye week, I don't think that it should be something that's hanging over our head. In fact, I wish we would have recorded the show on Saturday because I was so ready to get this behind us, right?
No, you weren't in a shape to record this on Saturday, bro. You would have gotten us canceled.
As quarterback, you fake it till you make it. I would have faked it.
Yeah. But I mean, listen, I think the reality of this game is it was always going to be a nice to have, but not a gotta have.
Yeah.
Right. Like if we won it, it would have been great. I don't think that we needed to necessarily win this game to still reach our goals and objectives for the season. But looking at how the Sun Belt is actually kind of shaping up right now, when it comes down to that CFP playoff spot, we probably needed this one, right? Because I don't see a whole lot of opportunities for quality wins on our schedule now because the Sun Belt has performed so bad in out of conference. I mean, Georgia Southern just lost to Fresno. Georgia State lost to Memphis. And again, 2 G5 programs that, we need to beat. Both from the American and then Fresno's in what? Is Fresno going to the Pac-12 now or whatever that thing is called? But then you got App State. Bro, App State struggled with Lindenwood, right? I mean, in this week. Like, they just transitioned up from Division II. ESPN finally got their logo uploaded, and they beat them and App State beat them by 1 score, right? Marshall loses to Missouri State, who just transitioned from FCS. That was their first FBS win as an FBS program. South Alabama lost to Tulane. Again, another AAC team that we needed to beat to say the Sun Belt is better. Coastal Carolina struggled against Charleston Southern, right, down in your neck of the woods.
Hey, and I'm doing some chaplaincy with Charleston Southern, so I was actually pulling for them. I would have been at the game had I not had graduation, but I know those guys well, so shout out to Charleston Southern. They had an opportunity to win that game, and I think
they
it was
did.
13-0, Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, listen, no, you got to root for all Sunbelt teams, my guy. Like, because all rising tide lifts all boats. We need Sunbelt teams to be good, but Louisiana got, lost to Rice and then just got blown out by Houston.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had some of those lopsided matchups where we were Sunbelt teams going up against SEC programs. But Monroe, like, you can't let Alabama drop a 70 burger on you, right? And I know you were the get-right game for Alabama after they lost to Florida State. The good news, though, is that Troy, it looks like Troy is back. They showed up this week against Clemson. They really kind of looked like us in the Louisville game in that they had a chance to win that game. Yeah. And then now they get a crack at Memphis this upcoming week. The problem is Troy isn't even on our schedule this year. So we kind of needed to win that game. It's good that we had a good showing. I wish we had scored in that last second of the game because the voters at the end of the year, they're not going to remember that we controlled the game.
Right.
They're going to remember that we lost by 2 scores. Sure. So it would have been nice to have the framing of that game be a 1-score loss against hopefully ACC championship contender Louisville. But that, of course, is not going to be the story.
Yeah. Sunbelt is obviously struggling right now, and it's going to take JMU to dominate, right? We have to dominate going forward. I think we got this game out of the way in terms of Louisville to see kind of where are we actually when it comes to a college football playoffs. I personally, didn't have those expectations going into the season because I didn't want to put too much on us, right, as we figure things out. But I think that having the college football playoffs, let that be a byproduct of how well you play, right?
Yeah.
So even with the rankings of the other Sun Belt teams not doing well, I think JMU still controls the ship. They still control their destiny. And it's going to be a byproduct of what happens when they take care of business. And so right now we have to figure out our identity as a team, right? Because it takes all three, special teams, defense, offense. It takes all three. Even though our defense is playing really well, at the end of the day, we need to have an identity as a team, right? And that will then lead us to success going forward. So I'm excited for what's to come, but I'm also excited that we have a bye week this week, and I think that we're going to get a lot of things cleaned up. And shout out to our coaches because I still do, believe in our coaching staff. I think we have a phenomenal coaching staff. Coach Chesney put together some great coaches, and so this is an opportunity where coaching comes in play. Even more during a bye week, you get your players who are banged up now have another opportunity. Imagine being Alonzo Barnett coming off of ACL. You did everything right in the offseason to try to get back, right? And now you just played 2 games where you came back. You, despite the odds, right, despite the statistics, you came back. You were able to play 2 games, go into this bye week. I believe he's healthy enough, right? Go into this bye week. Now he's rejuvenated. He got some film. He got some confidence back. He's gotten hit. He's got banged up. And I expect for him personally, I expect for him to be a much better player after the bye week than what he was before the bye week.
Yeah, the biggest cliche I think in sports is, or in college football at least, this bye week comes at a perfect time, right? Yeah. I mean, this bye week I think really, really comes at a great time. And I think, what you just said is absolutely right. I trust this coaching staff. Like, I think, Bob Chesney has had a winning record everywhere he's been for a reason. That is not a flash in the pan. The dude can coach football. I also think he's a great leader. And I think what this phase that JMU is in right now is not going to take just coaching. It's also going to take leadership and their ability to make some tough decisions. I also trust Dean Kennedy. I mean, I think Dean Kennedy is one of the smartest offensive minds, in college football right now, up and coming. I mean, he's a young guy. I remember when I first met him, I thought maybe he was like a GA. And then he's like, yeah, I'm the offensive coordinator. I was like, dope. But I mean, I think these guys are going to get it figured out. We didn't figure it out on Friday night, but I do have confidence that they'll figure it out. Now, going into this bye week, you said that there are some lessons that we needed to learn. There are some things that we need to fix. I guess for you, what specifically would you say this team needs to fix coming into this bye week and coming out of it to prepare for Liberty?
Yeah, great question. I think schematically understanding our offensive identity. When you as I think about all the positions, I think about the running back group, how they could be a bit frustrated right now. Think about the quarterback group, how probably could be frustrated. Think about the receivers, right? Going after that game, a little hesitant to like, hey, what are we doing? When am I going to get the ball? When am I going to get my opportunity?
Yeah.
So and from an offensive line standpoint, I don't think we played great. I don't think that we put them in the best position in terms of the defense knowing what we're getting ready to do, right?
Right.
But I think from a bye week standpoint, we have to hone in on our identity as a team.
And again, for you, Vad Lee the quarterback. Let's make you Vad Lee the coach.
Yeah.
What, in your mind, understanding the strengths, weaknesses of this offense, having watched 2 games and maybe studied some of the preseason training camp and all that, what would you say the offensive identity should be? Like, what would you do with this offense if you had the tools and the weapons that we have?
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of want to highlight a clip on my Instagram that's kind of going viral. It was actually when I was talking to JMU in July, and I was sharing a message about KYP. It's a life lesson that I learned when I was at JMU. My quarterback taught me my quarterback coach at JMU, he taught me the importance of KYP, know your people. And I think right now, going into this weekend, for me, is knowing your people. What does that mean? That means I know the strengths and weaknesses of my players, and I know the strengths and weaknesses of my team. And so with that in mind, I need to create a game plan based on the strengths and weaknesses of each player. Now, do I think they've done that a bit? Absolutely, they've done that because they get paid to do that. Right? They know that.
Answer the question, bro. Like, you're Coach Vad Lee. What would you do with this offense?
I guess I'm going into it in terms of offensively. We have to choose a quarterback. I mean, that's first.
Okay.
And choosing a quarterback will now create more an offensive identity and would be less distracting for your playmakers on the outside and the run and behind you, right? Because now I don't think offensive line, I don't think they really care who's in the game because their eyes are forward, focused on the defense, but they understand in terms of play calling difference. When we run this play, such and such is in the game. When we run these type of plays, such and such is in the game. So I think that once we choose a quarterback, then it becomes fair for our entire offense to now hone in on the entire game plan, on one focus. I had a book. Somebody gave me a book a long time ago. It was like focus on the main thing, focus on the one thing. I hated that book because I'm one of those guys that I do a lot, and I like doing a lot because it helps me when I'm doing things. But I do understand the concept of becoming good at one thing before you try to do a lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. And by the way, I've read that book. It's by the guy who started Keller Williams, the realty. It's called The One Thing. It's a really good read.
Yeah, I didn't finish it.
Yeah. No, it's a good read. But I agree with you, man. We got to get some offensive identity. I think going into this bye week, I think they got to figure that out. I think they got to get the ball into the playmakers' hands, and they got to establish the run. And they got to trust that we have an all Sun Belt performer in George Pettaway and give that guy the rock at least 13 times a game, which was his pitch count last year. He touched the ball. He got 5 carries this week, and he caught 3 passes. Got to get George Pettaway the ball. Got to get Wayne Knight the ball. And again, we have all these weapons. I want to see dynamism. Is that a word? Dynamism?
I don't know, but that's
in the offensive. That was a great word, right?
Great word.
But I want to see dynamism. Shout out JMU English class. But I want to see dynamism on the offense, man. I don't want to see one-dimensional. And so I hopefully, Dean Kennedy can cook up something in this bye week that spreads the ball around to our playmakers and not creates this one-dimensional thing that we had going on this past week, because that was a hot mess.
Yeah.
So
let's put this one to bed.
Yeah. So I guess, and by the way, I think for the defense, man, they're going to get patted on the back this entire next week. we can't let them get the big head, right? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think this team could get complacent on defense, but they've got to continue to play with the same effort they had before.
Yeah. Well, I do know they have a voice, like a guy in Trent Hendricks. He's loud, he's proud, and he knows it. Like when I went to lunch with him, he's like, "Yeah, I'm a talker." Like he knows it. And so, from an offensive standpoint, who's the voice?
Yeah,
where's the
exactly
voice coming from? It can't come from a coach. Like, who is the voice on offense? We know the voices on defense, but we don't know the voices on offense. And my sheep knows my voice, and it's hard to have success, and it's hard to lead your people, KYP, right? It's hard to lead your people if there's no voice. One of the things, the last thing, I was thinking about being a North Carolina guy, growing up in North Carolina. I used to watch a lot of Russell Wilson, NC State. I think that Coach Chesney is kind of in a dynamics where Tom O'Brien, the head coach of NC State back in the day, was in, where he had a Russell Wilson and he had a Mike Glennon, who both actually went to the NFL and played and had like a career. I think Mike Glennon might have played, he might still be in the league. He might have played 6 or 7, 8, 9 years. And of course, Russell Wilson is still playing in the NFL. If you guys remember, he had to make a decision because Mike Glennon and Russell Wilson played baseball, and Mike Glennon would be the starting quarterback every spring going into the and in the summer going into the fall camp. And then Russell Wilson all of a sudden will come back and kind of reclaim his starting quarterback position. Coach Chesney is in a similar position where, Alonzo Barnett did not play in the spring. He did not compete in the spring because he was injured. So we were in the spring creating game plans for Matthew Sluka, right? We were creating game plans for him. And now, Coach Tom O'Brien had to make a decision, and eventually he ended up letting Russell Wilson walk, and Russell Wilson went to Wisconsin and I think he led him to the Rose Bowl. And
he balled.
He basically got fired because of that, because it's like, dang, you let your best player go. But he had a quarterback that was also NFL worthy as well, a backup that was NFL worthy. So it kind of just goes back to the earlier point of they at least chose a guy, though. They had a guy. They chose a guy. And both of them were capable of being a starting quarterback, and both of them were capable of going to the NFL, which they did. And so I think it's a hard position to be in as a coach, right? So I do want to, soften the blow a little bit to, from Coach Chesney and all the noise. It's a hard decision to make, but the decision has to be made.
No, it's tough, man. And I guess my bigger concern to your point is that, Alonzo Barnett III, his body language during that game was not great. It was not a guy that felt like this. It didn't look to me like he was a guy who felt like this was his football team. And that was the bigger concern for me. One thing I do know about AB3 is this dude is a competitor.
Yes.
And every time he's been counted out by either our fan base or the media or even the coaching staff, the guy comes back and he comes back better. So I got high expectations for that Liberty contest for AB3. All right, Vad, you know what time it is, man. It's time for What You Talking About, Willis.
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis?
This week's What You Talking About, Willis comes from a guy who goes by the name. He's a validated, verified account on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. SEC Mike. I think his name is at Michael W. Bratton. And SEC Mike this past week after Chapel Hill's debacle against TCU says, Bill Belichick is already on the hot seat at UNC. And I just got to say, SEC Mike, what you talking about, Willis? I mean, you know what? I'm not a Bill Belichick apologist, but I got to say, man, it's the guy's first game. You can't say he's already on the hot seat. It's going to take that guy 2 or 3 years to build that program and get it to where he needs it, especially having to develop some players in the transfer portal because his team was essentially decimated. So I'd say SEC Mike, what are you talking about? What do you think about that, Vad? Yeah. Is he on the hot seat already?
So no, but in terms of philosophy and how he's built a career about not distractions, there's certainly a lot of distractions around the UNC program where you just don't want to be in. And I don't think Bill Belichick wants to be in either. However, it just kind of happens because, you got a young girlfriend and your starting quarterback or your quarterback is the same age as her. So there's a lot of distractions right now. I don't think that he's on the hot seat. However, they kind of struggle with the UNC Charlotte football team. I mean, I think they won 24 to, I can't remember the score, but I was kind of expecting a big performance from them, but it wasn't. So anyway, I think they'll figure it out, and they have 70 new players, and that's hard. That's hard. And a lot of those players came in after spring ball, so they're still figuring it out.
Yeah, I don't think he's on the hot seat, so I'm going to give Bill Belichick a little bit of grace. SEC Mike, we might have to circle back to this tweet, though, toward the end of the season and see how things are going.
For sure. My what you're talking about, Willis, comes from actually the JMU game in Louisville. I thought it was hilarious. At the end of the game, Louisville is obviously up. They're going to win the game. And head coach Jeff Brom called the timeout because the defense wasn't set up or aligned correctly. And it was a little exchange between them and their defense coordinator, Ron English.
I saw that.
Where I'm looking at it live, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? These guys are going at each other's neck. Well, actually, the head coach was going at the defensive coordinator's neck, and the defense coordinator kind of just pointed at the scoreboard like, hey, I'm doing my job. What are you talking about, Jeff Brown?
What are you talking about, Willis?
What are you talking about, Willis?
Wow.
Like we're supposed to, have more points on the board, and my defense is doing their job. And it was at the end of the game; they had already won. So I just thought that was funny. If you go to that clip, hopefully we might be able to put that clip here where he's like pointing at the scoreboard, like, "Bro, stop talking to me. What are you talking about, Willis?"
That was a good pull. I saw that happening in real time, and I was like, man, these guys about to go to blows, but. All right, good stuff, Vad. Now it is time for us to take it to the house. And so I want to talk about leadership and tough decisions because for college football coaches, tough decisions are unavoidable. They rarely come without backlash. Of course, fans will question you, players may resist, and the media scrutinizes your every move. But the very best coaches, like the very best leaders, are the ones who embrace these moments. They understand that leadership isn't about popularity in the moment. It's about positioning the program for success in the long run. Now, many of you know that the same is true in corporate America. CEOs and managers and even individual contributors face versions of the same dilemma. Do you stick with the comfortable path that pleases everyone today, or do you make the disruptive change that might hurt now, but pay off later? The courage to act decisively, even when it invites criticism, separates leaders who just simply survive from those who thrive. The courage it takes to be decisive also trickles down into every corner of our lives. Parents, teachers, and even our children all have moments where the easy decision would be to delay, to compromise, to keep the peace. But life rewards those who lean into the hard choices. Growth comes from cutting ties with what's comfortable, setting higher standards, and being willing to endure discomfort now for greater success later. I believe a great example of a head coach making a very unpopular decision was when Dabo Swinney benched veteran quarterback Kelly Bryant at Clemson a year after Bryant had led them to the college football playoff. Now, Vad, you mentioned the folks at NC State, but if you remember, Dabo benched him for Trevor Lawrence, a freshman who Dabo believed gave them the best chance going forward. Fans, media, and even some players on the team were not happy with that decision. Dabo was taking a huge risk, but he was decisive. And by the end of the season, Clemson had won the national championship, and Trevor Lawrence led them the entire way. In the book Courage is Calling by one of my all-time favorite authors, Ryan Holiday, he's got a chapter in that book called Be the Decider, where he talks about the courage it takes to make tough decisions. He closes the chapter by saying, you can't beat a problem by debating. Only by deciding what you're going to do about it and then doing it. Not a decision for decision's sake, of course, but the right call right now. And if your decision happens to be wrong or you've made a mistake, then decide again with the same kind of courage and clarity. I believe that in this bye week, Bob Chesney and the staff will have to make some decisions. And I hope they have the courage and clarity to make them, because not deciding is also a decision. And that's it, JMU Nation. We have taken it to the house. Ah, man, Vad, I'm so glad we got a bye week this week, because I think we get to take a deep breath for the week and watch some football and not care. But you know what? We're coming back strong for Liberty. I believe in these Dukes. They're going to take it all the way to the house. I want to encourage you guys to take it to the house. Go Dukes.
Go Dukes. Appreciate it, Delvin.
To the House is part of the JMU Sports News Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe to the JMU Sports News Podcast Network to never miss an episode. To the House dropping in your podcast feeds every Monday night, and new episodes of the JMU Sports News Podcast coming in the middle of every week. To the House is produced by Jack Fitzpatrick, hosted by Delvin, Joyce, and Vad Lee. To the House is part of the JMU Sports News Podcast Network. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you find your podcasts. And be sure to follow To the House on Twitter and Instagram at JMU To the House.